14th and 15th verse. And here it is. Matra sparshas tu kontya sitoshna sukadukadha agama paino nityas tams titikshasva bharata. 15th is yamina vyathyante te purusham purusha rishabha sama dukkha sukham dhiram samritatvaya kalpate. These are the verses. And translation by Srila Prabhupada. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and the disappearance in due course are like appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, ocean of Bharat. One must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. And here, 15th translation. O best among men, Arjuna, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress, steady in both, is certainly eligible for liberation. Okay, so I'll just explain the purport as I go on. Om Ajnanaatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Nama. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Shri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pracharne Vishesh Shunyavadi Paschaleshnaya Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Padramlam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sabrajatam Sanatam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padans Lalita Shri Vishakhan. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so we are there discussing second 14 and 15th verse. Now, Srila Prabhupada begins the purport with this statement. In proper discharge of duty, one has to learn to tolerate non-permanent appearance and disappearance of happiness and distress. Prabhupada is translating Agama Paino Nityas Tam Sitikshasva Bharata. Samadukha Sukha. Da. In happiness, Sukha, and Dukha means distress. People, devotee has to be equal in the sense a devotee has to not be disturbed and tolerate them. Now the question is why we should tolerate happiness and distress. This is a very important question. Why we should tolerate? Why? All these materialist people, they will say, why should you tolerate? Just be smart, just avoid them. Come up with some technique or some technology so that we can when there's a distress, we can have some solution for that. Or when there's some happiness, we can increase the happiness by actually manipulating situations, or like they say, mostly if you talk to modern people, they'll say, "You're a fool, why you're tolerating." It's just like I'm sitting in Badrik Ashram. You can see there's a temporary light we have put because we don't use electricity here, but we put the light, otherwise you'll not be able to see my face at all. It's total dark, it's pitch dark. So where people come here, people say, why you are suffering, no electricity, it's hot, and you are just sitting here, you're foolish or what? But the point is, Krishna's understanding and vision is very different. Krishna says, Tam Sitikshasva Bharata. Krishna says, tolerate. Why? Srila Prabhupada begins his purport with this statement. Why? In proper discharge of duty. That's the whole idea. What kind of duty we have? Our duty is divided into two parts. One is at bodily level. You see, we have to take care of our body, and so which is called a Laukik Dharma. Another duty is a spiritual level, that to serve Krishna. That's our main duty. So, if you want to serve Krishna, if you want to do bhakti, then Krishna says, then you should tolerate things. Why? Because if you don't tolerate, then first of all, you end up spending a lot of time in actually solving these situations, isn't it? If it is so much hot, then you have to buy and buy. You have to pay for electricity to work, and then you have to buy a fan, and then you have to buy AC, and then you have to maintain it. So consumes time and energy. So the time and energy which is so valuable in human life, first of all, time is less. We already lives are so small. Alpayu. On the top of it, sleeping. When you sleep, you have to waste that time. That's no alternative. When you're taking bath or going to toiletry, you have to waste time. There's no alternative. But this time we can save time and energy, and we can apply an understanding God and to serve Him. So that way, Krishna says, if you want to save time and energy, then tolerate. That's the whole idea. And then you can spend it in spiritual exercises and use it to understand God. But 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 if you're materialistic, if you don't have to do anything with God, then there's no point of tolerating. Then you can enjoy and you can do whatever stuff you want. But whole Bhagavad Gita is revolving around spirituality, isn't it? Krishna is trying to bring us to spiritual path. For them, it's very important. This quality of tolerance is very, very important. Srila Prabhupada gives an example now. According to Vedic injunction, one has to take his bath early in the morning, even during the month of Jan and Feb. Very cold at that time. Now you might say, well, in Finland also it's cold, but we are inside and we take baths with hot water, so what's the problem? But Prabhupada says, in spite of that, a man who abides by religious principle does not hesitate to take his bath. Uh, so that's the whole point there now. You might say, what's the problem to take bath in Jan and Feb? But no, but if you're living without electricity, if you're living without, then there's a problem. You get up in the morning, it's cold water, but nevertheless, you have to take bath. So, and yogis in Himalayas, they do that, by the way. The yogic tradition is not a new tradition. It's a tradition thousands of years back. Now, why yogis were like living in mountains without any house, and they are taking bath in cold water? Are they all cracked? They are all like they're nuts or what? There's a science behind it. They also want to save time. They want to spend time in adjusting their house and electricity. To forget it. Okay, let's tolerate, and let's take bath in cold water. It doesn't really. Um, it saves a lot of time and energy. You have to tolerate it because it's very cold, but that's okay. That's fine. Once you practice, it's fine. Another very important thing is when Krishna is saying tolerate. Oh, okay. Anyway, this is one example of cold. Prabhupada gives another example. Similarly, a woman does not hesitate to cook in the kitchen in the months of May and June, the hottest part of summer season. Even still, if you go to villages, the women are cooking in kitchens and it's very hot, but they're doing because it's a duty. So they're tolerating. One has to execute his duty in spite of climatic inconveniences. Now that's the whole point Prabhupada is bringing. There are climatic inconveniences. Materialistic people, they try to adjust climatic inconveniences, try to make it comfortable. But we don't want to adjust climate. We want to adjust our mind and our soul. Preferences are different. So we don't spend time there. Okay, let's tolerate and go ahead. Now, that's one thing. Okay. Tolerating saves time and energy to practice spirituality. Okay. Another thing very important is, although Srila Prabhupada doesn't really mention here in this purport, but very important thing is why Krishna is asking us to tolerate tam sitikshasva bharata. Why? Because you see, scientifically, if you see, if you want to explain to materialistic people, now materialistic people will not accept this logic what I'm explaining, because they don't want to do anything with God. But if you really want to convey a message to them, and you want to prove Bhagavad Gita is correct, that also we can do. Krishna is saying, okay, tolerate. Why you should tolerate? Because scientifically, if you see toleration, so when you tolerate things, hot and cold, what happens? You see all researches, your immunity becomes strong, and that is why you see all these poor people, they don't get diseased very easily. I mean to say, they get accidents and they get other problems. As far as diseases are concerned, they don't get diseased. And the greatest evidence of this is when there was a corona all around the world. The poor people were still working in Delhi. Delhi was very affected. Were all these females who were like working in the houses, like sweepers and all these things. They were coming and they were working. So we asked them, there's corona. Aren't you afraid? You'll get corona. And they said, well, Babuji, ye to amiro ki bimari. This is the disease of rich people. Why? Because their immunities are very weak. Because they didn't tolerate hot and cold. They're like soft and babies, and they're like adjusting all the climatic inconveniences. The immunity becomes very, very weak. And that is, if you see yogis go even one step beyond. They actually purposefully set up certain circumstances where they tolerate fire. They purposefully make things uncomfortable. So they are even much beyond us. We are anyway tolerating climatic inconveniences, but yogi says, okay, we will purposefully make climate inconvenient. They're sitting in between fire and in the cold season, summer season, and in the cold season they are actually standing in cold freezing water of Ganges up to their waist in the morning time, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Why they're doing this? Because they know this, if you tolerate all these things, your immunity becomes very strong. And more than that, your sankalp shakti becomes very strong. Your determination becomes very strong. But scientifically, of course, your immunity and you remain healthy. You remain extremely healthy. All these yogis. So I met one yogi in Himalayas, and he said, so I'm staying from childhood, and so his age was around 75 years old, and he was saying, I never went to doctor, I never took any medicine. I have no problems. 75, 80 years. So that's you become healthy, actually, bodily, mentally, spiritually healthy, if you tolerate. So this advice of Krishna is not just for devotees, it's equally applicable to non-devotees. That's what I was trying to do. People who stay in AC, there are a lot of research is done. People are 24 hours in AC, so people who are 24 hours in a very comfortable environment, mostly they are very prone to all these spondylitis, arthritis. They're very prone to it. And of course, scientific research is their memory is very less. Memory reduces because of hormonal influences. The whole chemistry of body changes. The hormones. So so Krishna's advice equally holds good in all circumstances, for devotees, for non-devotees, for everybody. So you should not think Krishna is only saying for devotion or spiritual people. No. That is why our dharma is called Sanatan Dharma. It is equally applicable to everyone at all times. It is Sanatan, it's eternal dharma of everybody. But for devotees, this is a very good information. And so Srila Prabhupada continues. Similarly, to fight is religious principle of Kshatriyas, although one has to fight with some friend or relative, one should not deviate from his prescribed duty. That's what Krishna is trying to inspire Arjuna to fight. Now, one thing you must remember, fighting for Arjuna is a devotional activity in this context, in this circumstance. Because Krishna wants him to fight. So that's what Prabhupada is saying. Arjuna has to execute this devotional service to Krishna, fighting, and so, so that's why he should not deviate from his prescribed duty. He should not say no to Krishna, and for that he must tolerate. He might have his own ideas, but he should tolerate. Okay, I'll not fulfill my ideas. I will fulfill Krishna's ideas. So this is tolerating at the level of will. You can tolerate this happiness and distress. Krishna is saying, okay, so one way to tolerate happiness and distress is climatic happiness and distress, or external happiness and distress. Here it's internal happiness and distress. Happiness and distress produced due to external factors. Happiness and distress produced due to internal factors. So previous examples were getting up in the morning, kitchen. They were happiness and distress due to external factors. But here Arjuna is experiencing an internal factor, which is producing a distress. And what was the internal factor? Is attachment to his relatives, his guru. Krishna says tolerate it. Tolerate that attachment. Don't get uh, don't get, what do we say, uh, swept away by this attachment. Tolerate it and fulfill your duty. Do what I'm saying. Prabhupada says, now Prabhupada brings a philosophical point. One has to follow prescribed rules and regulations of religious principles in order to rise up to platform of knowledge. That's the whole idea. Devotion prescribes a lot of rules and regulations. Any spiritual path, not just. I mean to say, even in education, we have to learn something. There are rules and regulations. There is spiritual education, so there are rules and regulations. So to follow rules and regulations, you have to tolerate many things. That's all. Because rules and regulations are not designed by your preferences. They're designed by with the goal in mind. You might not like them, but you should follow. So you have to tolerate. That's the whole idea. Because by knowledge, because if you tolerate those rules and regulations, then what happens is, then you get to platform of knowledge. So Krishna gives an example here. Krishna says, just as we tolerate summer and winter season, similarly, we should tolerate happiness and distress. And similarly, we should tolerate any other thing which helps us to advance in spiritual life. That's a principle. The following rules and regulations help us advance in spiritual life, so we should tolerate it, even if we don't like, no problem. And then what happens? What's the result? Result is you raise yourself up to platform of knowledge. You start getting knowledge. The idea of knowledge is what you're reading. It will change itself. This is information, but it will then change itself into knowledge, realization. That will happen. And then what happens? Then because by knowledge and devotion, only one can liberate himself from the clutches of simple. Then you get liberation. That's what you want. That's a target. Liberation means attaining Krishna. So and then Prabhupada says there are two different names of Arjuna which are addressed here. That's with that you can read yourself. Text 15. Now Srila Prabhupada begins the purport here. He's continuing the purport. Anyone who is steady in his determination for advanced stage of spiritual realization can equally tolerate the onslaughts of distress and happiness. Certainly, person eligible for liberation. That's what now Krishna is bringing this point. If you tolerate, what's the result? Krishna is saying. Result is liberation. Why? How do you connect tolerate and liberation? How to tolerate is equal to liberation? Well, Krishna gives a logic. Prabhupada gives a logic in the last verse. When you tolerate happiness, distress, then you get knowledge. Your knowledge changes, your information changes into realization. Why? So why you get knowledge by tolerating? Because when you tolerate all these inconveniences, then your focus on your goal becomes very strong. You're not disturbed by, because if you don't tolerate, then you will be busy in actually removing distress and attaining happiness. That will be your life, and it is simply waste of time. But if you tolerate, then you can focus on your goal. If you focus on your goal, then 24 hours thinking on your goal. Goal is Krishna and his love. And you've got 24 hours thinking how to attain him. And when you're 24 hours thinking of some subject, then you start getting knowledge and realization automatically, isn't it? But you read it, you'll actually imbibe it. And you get knowledge, then by knowledge you get liberated. By knowledge, your senses become controlled. The mind becomes controlled. And you can fix your mind on Krishna more and more and more and more. Once your mind is fixed, you get liberation. That's all. That's what Krishna is saying here. So Amritatvaya kalpate. Amritatvaya means liberation. Amritatvaya can also means nectar of love. Then you start tasting the nectar of love. Because in a Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, liberation means love. For us, liberation is not freedom from birth at least old age. For us, liberation means Amritatvaya kalpate. Here, the word mukti is not used. Amrit. You will start tasting nectar. And what is nectar? Nectar is love of God. There is no other nectar. All other nectar is useless. It's poison. So here in this 15th verse, Krishna is giving the result of tolerating, liberation. Krishna is using one of the names of Arjuna, Purush Rishabha. Rishabha means great, best. Krishna says to Arjuna, you're Purush Rishabha, you're best among men. The idea Krishna is saying that, well, to tolerate, you have to be strong and determined. You have to be great man. You have to be strong-willed, strong-hearted. Otherwise, you'll not be able to tolerate things. You'll not be able to focus on your goal. And that's why Krishna is using this name of Arjuna, Purush Rishabha. So that's the Prabhupada starts with the purport. Anyone who is steady in determination. Krishna is saying, Arjuna, you are determined person. You can do it. In Varna Ashram institution, the fourth stage of life, namely sannyas, is painstaking situation. But one who is serious about making his life perfect surely adopts sannyas order of life in spite of all difficulties, you see. Sannyas station is painful because you have to leave your family, you have to leave your house, you might have to do so many austerities. Sometimes you get food, sometimes you don't get food. If you're really following true sannyas, if you're a false sannyasi, then you will get a car, you will get a hotel and AC and so many disciples. That will be a big problem. Yeah. So then, if you want to live a truly sannyasi life, then there's so many rules and you have to live a simple life as far as possible. So then that's difficult, but okay, fine. For devotion. The difficulties usually arise from having to sever family relationships to give up connection with wife and children. See. But if anyone is able to tolerate such difficulties, surely his path to spiritualization is complete. Similarly, in Arjuna's discharge of duty, he is advised to persevere even if difficult to fight with his family members or similarly beloved persons. Chaitanya took sannyas at the age of 24, and his dependent young wife as well as old mother had no one else to look after them. Yet for higher cause, he took a sannyas. This is another reason why you should tolerate. I gave many reasons, scientific reasons, spiritual reasons. Another reason, this is actually dharmic reason, a religious reason. Srila Prabhupada is saying for higher cause, you have to tolerate some things. If you want to just fulfill your desires, okay, then why do tolerate? But if you have a higher cause, if you want to benefit people, then you tolerate many things. You tolerate many inconveniences. Just like we travel and preach, we're traveling and preaching for helping. There are inconveniences. Food changes, water changes, health goes down, travel and travel. So, Prabhupada says, well, for higher cause, we want to do something higher in life. We want to do something for the benefit of the entire world. If you want to make your heart broad, then you have to tolerate many things. Just like a husband, just like parents tolerate so many things for children, isn't it? So before having children, there is no higher cause. There's a girl and boy, and they come and they do whatever they want, and they're enjoying. But when they get children, child, then there's a higher cause in their life. This child, we have to raise him up. There's a responsibility. Then they tolerate so many things, isn't it? Everybody knows their child. Sometimes you have to get up an entire night. When your child is small, they're tolerating. They have to work entire day to get money to make him steady and whatever it is. So a higher cause, for fulfilling a higher cause, you need to tolerate. Prabhupada gives example of Mahaprabhu. For higher cause, he took sannyas and was steady in discharge of his higher duties. That is a way of achieving liberation from material bondage. The highest cause is liberation from this world, to attain Krishna's lotus feet. And to do anything higher in life, one has to be determined and one has to tolerate many inconveniences. A person who wants to become a millionaire, he has to be determined, focused, and he has to tolerate many things. He has to do so many things in spite of all conveniences. If he wants to get millionaire in 6 months, whatever his goal is. So our goal is Krishna. We want to attain Krishna, love of God in this life, and we have to tolerate. There's so many rules, regulations we'll follow in spite of the fact we don't like. There are so many attachments we have, we are ready to leave it in spite of the fact we don't like it. We should tolerate. So that's what the idea is. Krishna gives a beautiful example in this, just like we tolerate summer and winter, things change. Similarly, we tolerate all these things to attain Krishna. That's Krishna's advice. So, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says this, Trinada Pisuni Chena Taroreva Saishnam. Become so how much we should tolerate, to what degree we should have tolerance, like a tree. You cut a tree, you throw a stone at tree is not going to say anything. There's summer, there is rain, there is winter, it's standing there. That's called tolerance. Whatever happens in your life, you're standing. And we keep on walking towards our goal. Whatever happens, we don't stop. Keep on walking towards our goal of love of God. We'll only stop when we reach our goal. There'll be so many things happening in life. There'll be so many temptations, so many problems, but nevertheless, no problem. We'll keep on going. That's the advice of Krishna. In these 2 verses, Krishna's advice is keep on going. Don't stop. Don't look here and there. There is a verse in Quran, and it says, fools see behind. Wise people, they see up. That's the whole idea there. We neither think of past, we neither think of future. We're seeing up. Neither front, neither back. We're seeing up towards the lotus feet of God. That's it. And we'll keep on traveling on our journey, no matter what happens. That conviction we have. That conviction we should have. One life is for Krishna. That's okay, fine. Next life, we'll see what to do. Next life, you can do your experiments, whatever your nasty experiments you can do. Whatever fantasies you have in your mind. I will sit on a car and I will eat ice cream with my girlfriend. Some whatever, some fantasy I'm having in your mind. You can do all those things. Next life you do. One life you give to Krishna. That's what Krishna is. Krishna is indirectly saying, give me one life. Don't try to adjust the situations in this material world. Don't do that. Any situation. Just sit, keep on watching, let things come, let things go. You be focused on attaining my love. And if you can do that, if you can follow Krishna's advice, then Krishna will, if you focus on Krishna, Krishna will focus on you. And if you manage to get attention of God, then everything is complete, everything is finished. The project is successful. And there is one song in English, very famous song. So the so one of the line of that song is, I think that's the title of that song, uh, mm, and the title goes like this: "What can I do to make you love me?" It's a beautiful title, and that's the whole point. I was just thinking that's the whole point. What can I do for you, Krishna, to make you love me? The point is not the point is not that we love him. The point is that he loves us. What can I do for you? Okay, you want the answer what we can do? Krishna gives here 2:14 to 15. Tolerate. Start with this. At least start with this. Tolerate. Keep on going. That much you can do. And then I'll like you. That's the whole idea of this verse. These two verses. Okay, Hare Krishna, I'll just stop here. Any questions, any answers? I've given you the sense, and then you can go and meditate on this. Any question, any questions, any answers, or any comments, whatever.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. No, okay,
Hare
Archana
Krishna.
Mataji. Yes, Archana Mataji has a question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dhanvat Pranam.
Hare
Prabhuji,
Krishna.
how I understood, like you said, the first reason you said that we should not be wasting our time and energy trying to find material solutions to problems, and that's why we should
Yeah.
tolerate. But what if the problems are easily available and we are not actually looking for them? Means you're I'm asking about the concept of Yukta Vairagya.
Well,
Then why should we tolerate?
you see, Yukt Vairagya is very much exploited in our institution. You can't do anything and everything. Yukt Vairagya means you use everything in service of Krishna, but in service of Krishna. But at the same time, personally, we should lead a very simple life. So you can use AC, but for Krishna, not for yourself. You can put the AC in the altar, not in a room. That's the whole idea. So, and you can make very nice dishes for Krishna, but don't eat it. Yeah, speak on.
And for the
we're
using for Krishna. And what about using it for Hare Krishna? Can you hear?
Yeah, speak. Yeah.
So, okay, in Krishna service. And what about using these things for serving the devotees?
Well, if you want to serve devotees, make them pure devotees and not bhogi devotees. That's a good idea. We don't.
So, like
Parents. You see. I'll tell you. Parents who pamper their child, they are spoiled. So the best service is to train devotees to be austere and have a simple life, so that people can see, what they speak, they do. That's the best service.
Because generally what we do, I mean, it's always said that you invite devotees over to feed them, and you give them
yeah. Actually, you know what? You can keep on calling devotees, feed them, and keep on eating and enjoy life, and that's life, isn't it? Isn't it? You feed them, they'll feed you. This is, I mean to say, you're right. This is happening in our institution and all institutions like that. I mean, Christianity, Islam, they're just doing all these things. The idea is we call devotees not to feed them. We call devotees to discuss about Krishna. We're making prasad and bhungte bhojate cheva. Rupa Goswami says bhungte bhojate cheva. Call them, give them prasad, honor prasad. But the purpose is to discuss Krishna Katha. But that's not happening. People come, they eat, enjoy, and then there's no Krishna Katha and some kind of official discussion, and then they go. That's not the idea. But by the way, you know what? If you want to feed devotees, feed them with holy names. Feed them with beautiful qualities of Krishna. That's not my statement. That was statement of God Kishore Das Babaji to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. He said, because Bhakti Thakur, he was trying to arrange a pandal program and, like make prasadam and distribute. But Varshaji says, what are you doing? Let them come here. We'll have a feast of chanting the holy names. You see the point? So, of course, I mean to say, that doesn't mean we don't call Vaishnavas. We don't honor, we don't give prasadam. We call them, we give prasadam, but that's not the aim of doing this. That's what is happening, Things are reducing to some party and, some kind of friendship, mundane friendship. That's not the idea there. So, of course, if any Vaishnav comes to your house, it's natural etiquette to give them food. That's Indian culture, isn't it? That's not nothing to do with devotion also. But because we are devotees, we make prasad, we give them prasad, we take prasad, and we discuss Krishna Katha, we discuss realizations. And that should be the main agenda. This should be the secondary agenda. If that's understanding, then it's okay. But mostly this is not the understanding.
Like Prabhuji, like if we are also using this platform of Zoom and internet. So for Krishna consciousness only. So like we have not spent time inventing it, but we are using it so that we can advance our in Krishna consciousness. And also those people who have spent time in developing it, they get some sort of agyat sukriti by we using it.
Well, don't think about giving a agyat sukriti for that. No, that's all theory. just remain away from this Zoom and this device. That's a sensible advice.
Prabhuji, how would we get your association if that was not?
Yeah, just come on Zoom and listen, and then shut this device and throw it away. That's all. That's the best thing. Of course, now in modern age, it's impossible to get away from this cell phone because there's so many things tied to it. But the idea is we should use very less because this is a trap. This is a big trap. But we use the best. But you see, the whole idea is to gravitate towards simplicity. And not to gravitate towards luxury and complexity. That's what is happening now. That is not a good scenario. Some things are unavoidable, you have to do. That's okay. That people also understand. But why to unnecessarily involve ourselves with all these luxuries and comforts and be simple? That's all. Isn't it?
Because so many times people say now that Prabhupada used to travel by airplanes. He used to travel by grand cars and all. Service of Krishna.
So he used to write so many books and he used to chant and he used to do so many things. See the point. I'll tell you one thing. It is not. I mean, to quote Prabhupada, that doesn't make any sense. You know why? Because we need some common sense here. What is happening with us? That we have to see. Srila Prabhupada wants us to become pure devotee. That's final instruction, isn't it? He doesn't want us to travel in big cars. He doesn't want to travel us. No. He wants we should become pure devotee. Now, if we have to see ourselves, we are so conditioned, we are so attached. So why to do all those things which will disturb our mind? Just don't do this thing. It's simple, common sense. It is not just like people. Janmashtami is coming next day. Prabhupada appearance day. People say, "Oh, Prabhupada liked kachori, so we'll make kachori and eat." Come on. Yeah, you can make kachori and offer to Prabhupada, but then you make kachori and you eat. And suppose if you like eating kachoris, then there's a problem. Then you're stuck up with that. So we have this is called sargrahi. We have to introspect and we have to see where our attachments are going, where our mind is going, and wherever we are attached, we have to stop it. We don't have to indulge ourselves. Simple. And that's different for different people. Some people are addicted to drugs, some people are addicted to kachori, some people are addicted to AC, some people are addicted to blah, blah, blah. So there's no one rule. One rule is identify your attachments, get rid of it. That's one rule. That's called sargrahi. That is wise man. That we need. So we need common sense for it. So people who are quoting this, I don't think so. They have common sense. They might be scholars, but they don't have common sense. That's all.
Yeah. We need to understand that Srila Prabhupada, at his level, he is not likely to get attached to anything. But we obviously will get attached.
Yeah, it's common sense, Srila Prabhupada can make female disciples, young female disciples. If our sannyasis make young female disciples and they're not careful, then of course they can fall down. Anybody can fall down. And history has shown us people have fallen down because they were not careful. But Srila Prabhupada can make and nothing will happen to him. So that's okay. He can do that. We can't do in this situation. It doesn't need scripture, isn't it? It doesn't need scripture. It needs some common sense. That's all. It doesn't require any scripture.
So, Prabhuji, if you have to tell in a nutshell, very crisply about this concept of Yukta Vairagya so that we don't exploit it, how would you say?
Well, Rupa Goswami explains, Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yukta Vairagya Michyate. Prabhupada quotes, we have to use everything in service of Krishna. Krishna Sambandhe, Nirbandhe, but don't use for yourself. Be detached. And being detached doesn't mean that I use and I'm being detached. That's complete nonsense. That's fooling around yourself. Being detached means we are attached to it. So better, as far as possible, don't use it. If it's required for service, minimal, you can use it. And then goodbye. That's all. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I think that is where the main understanding is that don't use for yourself under the pretext that you are using it for service of the Lord.
Yeah. And I'm detached. That doesn't happen like that.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, it's always a nectar to hear you. Thank you so much for your association. Prabhuji, question है, एक थोड़ा लंबा question है. I'll try to cut down. कि जैसे you mentioned, you have so many attachment, but you right away said we are ready to leave it for Krishna. It's good to hear from you, but when I talk about my own heart, that doesn't come. I don't hear that I'm ready to leave for Krishna. We hear Bhagavatam, we hear what needs to be done, and we are moving towards it. I won't say that there is no change. There is change. We are moving slowly towards it. Like if I come back to the tolerance piece, yes, we tolerate certain times, we pass, and we try to tolerate certain times too, but we fail. So the answer is we don't 100 time pass, we don't 100 time fail. We are in between. There is a battle going in between. Sometimes we pass, sometimes we fail. So then once we fail, we are regretting, okay, why didn't I do it? Because now my mind is restless and now I can't even chant. So what should we do? कि ये जो instructions that Bhagavatam is giving or Bhagavad Gita is giving, it stays in our heart all the time, and we are able
I'll tell you.
put it.
You know why this is happening? When you fail, then what to do? Depression and this. You know why it's happening? Because you are doing things for yourself. That's why it's happening. You means all of us. We are doing this. We are trying to become pure for ourselves. But if we want to become pure for God, and that means we want to become pure to offer this purity to God. And we don't want to become pure because I want to become pure, because I like becoming pure. And there's a whole problem. And what happens is, if we want to become pure and then we fall down, then we can't do. I want to do it and I want to become pure. And if we can't do it, then we become depressed. But if you are doing for God, if you're doing for God, that, okay, God, for you, I want to become pure. In itself, I'm useless. But when I become pure, then you can use me in your service. I'll become useful to you. If that's a concept, then what happens is, when you fall down, then what happens is, then you will double your efforts, not reduce your efforts, but double efforts, because you want to bring back that purity again, because you want to offer it to Krishna, because Krishna wants to use you. Otherwise, you'll become useless to Krishna, and you don't want that. So then you will never get discouraged. Never get discouraged. So I'll tell you one thing. Just like, so I'll give you example. Just like, so we want to create pure emotions in our heart, isn't it? That's purity.
जी,
Pure
जी,
thoughts, pure emotions. Why? So that Krishna comes in our heart and tastes it. We are not developing emotions so that we taste it. That's not rasik. Rasik means Krishna comes and tastes it. So now we fall down and our mind is disturbed, and then Krishna is coming. So then what do? Then you will double efforts. Krishna is coming. I again need to come back. If Krishna comes and if he doesn't find pure heart, then he will be disappointed. So to remove his disappointment, not your disappointment, you will double efforts. That's the whole idea there. And I'll give you example. Suppose you are very so suppose you're a gentleman and your house is like a gentle place and very nice, neat and clean, perfect place, and you like to keep your place very nice. And a guest comes to you, and your suppose your Guru Maharaj, suppose your Guru comes to your house every month, and he likes, and he says, I'll visit your house every month. It's such a nice place, such speck and clean, so nice garden you have maintained. I like this place. I'll come every month. So he goes, and then next month he says, okay, so I'm going to come another week. And what happens is, and you are completely frustrated in your life, and you're messed up. Your house is messed up. You're having psychiatric problems. You're having bipolar syndrome, and everything is out. And now you suddenly remember, oh, my Guru is coming. What do?
Put your
What do you
best.
do? You
100% effort.
one week you will give 200% to make it perfect, because Guru is coming. He likes to stay here. That's the whole idea.
Yes.
So you're making yourself pure. You fall down. Your mind goes mess up, dirty, unclean. But Krishna is coming. For Krishna, I'm preparing my heart. You will do your best. You'll double effort. So that's the whole difference there.
Thank you, Prabhuji. That is a beautiful tip. एक और question है कि we say, sometimes the situation, both happiness and distress, are this way that little bit you tolerate, fine, keep going, but certain time comes where you actually lose your mental peace, and that affects your chanting. So फिर in such situation, चाहे happiness हो, चाहे distress हो, how should that be handled? Because certain you can't just sit aside and not do anything,
Well, some practical solution is you should have some friends in devotion with whom you can share your thoughts. Guyama khati prachati. Some confidential friends, some faithful friends. That's very important. Otherwise, we'll break down. And that is why Christianity has this concept of confession. It's not a useless concept. I mean to say, it has become useless because people confess and they didn't do sins. But in itself, in and of itself, it's not useless. It's a very useful concept, because confession means that you trust your guide, your senior mother, your senior father, whatever they call, and then you confess, and it's confidential, and then they give advice, and okay, it's good. And Guyama Gati Prachati is, by the way, this is the whole thing. You either you share your realizations or you share your confessions, isn't it? It's the same thing. So one thing is friends. Another thing is whenever your mind is disturbed and these things are happening and we can't tolerate, and this. At that time, you can bring all your lectures in your mind. You can recollect philosophy. That's why we are hearing this. Recollect it, go back, read Gita, bring back your realizations, and then use them to bring yourself up from all situations. But this might not work because mind is disturbed. So that's why you need some other devotee who can help you recollect things and go forward. And the second thing is chant nicely, chant and pray to God. So just like you asking me what to do, ask him at that time, and response will come. That's all.
Yes, Hari Bol. Thank you, Prabhuji. एक और छोटा सा question. Sorry. Through your lectures, you always say, make छोटे goals for yourself and try to achieve them. So for people like us who are grastas, external factor तो ज़्यादा count नहीं करते, क्योंकि you are in a family life. You can't say कि मैंने अपने आप को थोड़ी hardship देनी है. You guys live in AC, but my room is gonna be. Those things do not count in such environment. तो फिर कैसे छोटे छोटे गोल बनाएं कि we can make our determination stronger or can do such certain austerities while we are living with, say, family who probably might not be all devotees.
Well, in your family, you have to see what the best you can do. Simplify your life as far as possible. That's all that you have to see how you can do. I mean to say, in family life, you might have your husband or children and in-laws, whatever, your family. And then there are so many things and this. So you have to make for them, you have to eat with them. But don't just open your fridge and eat yourself, you know, then you have to see yourself. So have some self-control there. If nobody's around, don't use AC. Sit. People are there, then you have to use, you know. So you have to see yourself. You have to be true to yourself, and then you will find your way. Just be true to yourself, and you will. Krishna will show the way. In every situation, you can do all possible. Krishna's instruction is applicable to all situations. Some situations more, some situations less. But it's possible. Even full-time devotees, you might, okay, fine. People who are staying in ashram, full-time devotees. If you tell them austerities, they say, how can we do austerity? They can't even comprehend, you know, because in temples also there is all these facilities and this and that. I think it's up to individual. In temple, it's more difficult. You think in household it's easy. It's difficult.
More difficult, I agree.
In temple, it's more difficult. There's always Mahaprasad around. And
Very
if you try to avoid, somebody will come, Prabhuji Mahaprasad. So what do you do? And then there's so many people around you. And if you try to do some austerities, and they'll say, oh, you are doing so many austerities, Prabhuji, cool down, you know, you become sick and this is too much. It's not, I think it's up to individual. That's all.
Very true. Very true. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna ji, Danvat Pranam. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Danvat
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, my question is, when we talk about tolerance, in terms of relations, sometimes what happens is people just start taking you for granted, you know, because you are just tolerating. And they start behaving as selfishly as they wish, get things their way. And we are just tolerating and maybe acting like fools in front of them. So in that case, how much should we tolerate and where should we, like, should we speak or not speak or just keep tolerating?
Well, the rule is as far as possible. That's all.
But then sometimes we are like, we say na कि अंदर के अंदर ही हम ये हो रहे हैं, मतलब we are feeling depressed or we are feeling some sort of negligence or whatever you can say.
नहीं तो फिर वो तो फिर टॉलरेंस नहीं हुई ना, वो तो सप्रेशन हो गया. वो तो फिर हम टॉलरेट ही नहीं कर रहे, हम बाहर से दिखा रहे हैं, अंदर से टॉलरेट ही नहीं कर रहे. वी आर नॉट टॉलरेटिंग फ्रॉम इनसाइड. So if we can't tolerate, if we don't have that qualification to tolerate yet, then take some advice from Vaishnavas and bring and actually bring up and come up with some practical solution that you can do. But as you advance, you'll be able to tolerate more and more and more without getting frustrated with him. Actually, Krishna says that I think it's second chapter. So that question, Arjuna asked question, Sita Pragasya Ka Bhasha. What the second chapter? No, is it 2.54? I think it'll be ahead. Sita Pragasya Ka Bhasha Kim Prabhasheta. How a self-realized person walks and talks. And then Krishna speaks in 4 verses, and that's gradual advancement. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, the highest level. And when you read those verses, he is progressing on higher levels, and he's saying, and the whole theme of progressing on higher level is you will be able to tolerate more and more and more and more and more without getting frustrated. That's real tolerance. So if you can't tolerate, and if a bhakti is getting disturbed, if your mind is getting disturbed, then get some counseling advice and come up with some practical solution. That's all. Till that time, make your mind peaceful. But you should always remember that then your level is not so high. That without understanding. Of course, we have to come up with a solution, otherwise the chanting will get messed up.
Yeah, but then this is one of the qualities we have to develop, no, Prabhuji?
Yeah, so but then it'll come where, okay, you tolerate one situation. If you fail, then come up with some practical solution. Then you tolerate another. You fail again in some solution, but then third time pray to Krishna and you'll be able to do it. That's how we learn.
Yeah. So, and you also said you should have the qualification for this tolerance. So, what is that qualification?
Qualification, pure heart.
Okay, that is going to take some time, no, Prabhuji?
Of course, a lot of time, not some time. There's a time, it takes a lot of time. But it can happen in this life if we are sincere.
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
प्रभुजी एक और बात, to the same question that Reshma Mataji has asked. आपने एक बड़ा golden nugget कहा, you said you are not tolerating, you are suppressing. So इन दोनों में फर्क क्या हुआ?
फर्क है, if you tolerate, then you will not get frustrated within, you will be peaceful.
मतलब you will not hold grudge, है ना?
Of course, yeah. When you're suppressing, then things will go inside, boil inside.
क्योंकि you are holding against someone, you are not letting it go. ठीक है जी. ठीक है जी. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, I had a question.
Yeah, Pranav.
Somehow it seems like tolerating distress is easier than tolerating happiness.
I don't know, it might be for you. Like that. See, I'll tell you why, because you're not married. Married, then in reverse, you know.
खुशी झेली नहीं जाती, बाकी दुख आता है तो लगता है कि ठीक है, वो तो कर लेंगे मैनेज.
वही तो कह रहा हूँ, मैरिड नहीं हो ना तभी. मैरिड हो गए तो भाई बच्चे होंगे, फिर नहीं होगी भैया, उनको दुख हो रहा है, क्या करें. खुद तो चलो अभी वी आर फ्री, चलो चलता है. वो है.
And another question कि oftentimes we say कि if there is too much disturbance, तब भी भक्ति ठीक से नहीं होती.
नहीं होती है. Yeah, you can't do.
So how do we balance? I mean, sometimes in life there's so many problems that you can't just handle or handle नहीं होती. What do we do in that situation?
Take some counseling from senior devotees. That's what senior devotees are there. Senior devotees are not there just to give lecture. They are there to give practical advices from their experiences. And Baba Swami says, you should be under guidance. That's the meaning of guidance, isn't it? So they tell something, and to say senior devotees will not just impose their ideas. They will give some 2-3 solutions, and you can work on it and handle it. That's all. There's no other choice. That's why, that's why it's good to always actually be in touch with some senior devotees who understand your life, because then they can advise. Otherwise वो क्या है, वो मतलब मान लीजिए वो 8 महीने बाद प्रकट हो गया, यार प्रॉब्लम है, तो how is going to advise? He doesn't know what is happening in his life, what's the situation. Then it will not be a practical advice, it will be just a theoretical advice. चलो भाई sincere बन जाओ, chanting कर लो. So it's not so. But if that's why always a senior devotee is there. It's good to share always what's happening in life regularly, and then take some guide. I mean to say, we should not like keep on disturbing them, but it's good to share something, like every monthly something. Okay, this is happening, and something. So when serious things happen, then they know the history, and they can tell, okay, you can do like according to that personality. So that's why they said, be in touch, always be in touch with some devotee who understands you, who know you. There has to be some devotee there, either senior devotee or some friend who is actually more wiser than you. That's the idea. We should always have, otherwise we'll have a big problem in our life. Big problem. When problem comes, then see, even Guru will not be able to advise you, because Guru is somewhere, we are somewhere, we don't meet him, or we can't meet. Institutionalization, we can't meet. Guru doesn't know you. And then after 2 years, you're meeting, and then you're saying, Guru Maharaj, this is a problem. And what was going to say? First of all, he said, who are you? I'm a disciple. It happens, practically.
Yeah.
Then how is he going to advise you? That's impractical. So in your life, you should have some friends whom you're in touch. But if you're not in touch with anybody, then there's a big, big, big problem. That's the whole point.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yes, anyone else have any questions or comments to make? Anu Mataji, you wanted to say something again? Yeah. Okay.
Prabhuji. One question. So if a lot of time we hear your lectures, agar koi question ho lecture ke regarding, most of the time we discuss with Prabhuji, with Malay Prabhuji. Or agar further aapse discuss karna ho, how can we do that?
मतलब मलय प्रभु आंसर कर ही देंगे. Not, I'm so why do you call him Malay Prabhu? Madhu Disha Prabhu. He will.
Oh, sorry, Madhu said that. Sorry.
I found the choice.
वो office वाला नाम से. Sorry.
Acha, so he can answer you. What's the thing? I mean to say, but if you want, I mean to say, sometimes Madhu Disha Prabhu can answer, but if you want some other answer also, sometimes. And you can always mail me. That's no problem. But I think most of the things will be solved by Madhu Disha Prabhu. No.
We'll keep these monthly sessions. We used to have those monthly sessions. We should keep them again now.
Yes, Prabhuji, please. आपकी बहुत सारे lectures सुने where you are talking about Krishna pastime, Leela, qualities. There are nectars to hear. Can we please have those monthly sessions back? It's a humble request, please.
Yeah, we can do, no problem. That's fine.
Prabhuji or Savita Prabhuji can organize it for us. Like, I can arrange the timing with you if that's okay.
Yeah, I will do it.
Okay, thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna ji. Thank you so much.
Madhu Mataji.
Somebody's.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, Sankirtan and Prasadam, इससे लोग बहुत अट्रैक्ट होते हैं कृष्ण कथा के लिए. So is this the good medium of कृष्ण कथा का preach करने का, प्रभुजी?
ये कैसा क्वेश्चन है?
जैसे सपोज प्रभुजी संकीर्तन रखा हमने, उसमें डांसिंग हुआ जैसे कृष्ण कथा के उसमें संकीर्तन पे एंड प्रसादम, तो उसमें ज्यादा से ज्यादा लोग आना चाहते हैं इंस्टेड ऑफ भगवद गीता का हम पाठ रखते हैं तो.
अच्छा. Well, it depends on circumstances. जरूरी नहीं है हर जगह ऐसा मौका. डिपेंड करता है आप कहाँ हो, किस सिचुएशन में हो. जरूरी नहीं. बट whatever technique you use to attract people, 2 पॉइंट हमेशा दिमाग में होना चाहिए. First point is that technique should be philosophically in line. क्योंकि ऐसे तो करोड़ों लोग टेक्निक बना देंगे, वो philosophically in line नहीं होता तो वो खराब है ना. तो मान लीजिए किसी ने डांस वैंस रखा, उसमें डांस कर रहे हैं, बॉलीवुड सॉन्ग चला रहे हैं, तो क्या होता है, मजाक नहीं करता, चलते हैं, तो वो तो गड़बड़ है. और ज्यादा बहुत सारे लोग आ जाएंगे और अट्रैक्ट हो जाएंगे, तो खराब है ना. वो एक फिलोसफिकल लाइन होना चाहिए. और दूसरी बात हमेशा ध्यान रखनी चाहिए, टेक्निक पर से अट्रैक्ट नहीं करेगी, प्योरिटी अट्रैक्ट करे. टेक्निक तो एक टेक्निक ही है टू ट्रांसफर प्योरिटी. अगर सिर्फ टेक्निकों की प्योरिटी नहीं होगी तो आ जाएंगे लोग मगर कनेक्ट नहीं होंगे, कुछ भी नहीं होगा. In Srila Prabhupada's language, Prabhupada actually wrote this thing in his letter. Somebody asked the same question to Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, yes, by Sankirtan Prasadam people were attracted, but keep purity, otherwise there will be no spiritual sequel. Consequence नहीं होगा उसका. तो ये 2 पॉइंट हैं दिमाग में, तो ठीक है.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. चलो हो गया कोई नहीं. Oh, there's one
No.
more. Anand.
Anand Prabhu.
Can I ask the question, Prabhu?
Yes, yes, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
So, in our discussions, Prabhuji, in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, and even when we try to meet, so हम generally कोशिश करते हैं कि ट्यून्स एकदम सिंपल रखे, क्योंकि ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑफ द ट्यून्स ऑफ द कीर्तन इज कि जो लीड सिंगर गाने के बाद बाकी लोग उसको फॉलो कर पाए अच्छे से, और उसके बाद कथा भी एकदम बेसिक फिलोसफी पे रखा जाता है, मतलब ये ट्राई किया जाता है ताकि लोग पहले फंडामेंटल से आए, और सिर्फ स्टोरी से ही बताया जाता है कि स्टोरी के साथ अगर वो फिलोसॉफिकल कनेक्ट नहीं रहता है तो कुछ मतलब नहीं बनता. तो आई मीन व्हाट asking is, तो ये strategy is the best strategy, or there are devotees who are adopting different techniques. इसको सिर्फ कथा ही बोलते हैं. हमारे एक गॉड ब्रदर फ्रेंड है, मुझे बातों बातों में बोलते हैं कि मैं कोई उनको कंट्रोवर्शियल चीज बताता नहीं हूँ, मैं कोई उनको इंस्ट्रक्शन देता नहीं हूँ, मैं सिर्फ कथा करके आता हूँ. हमें सबको सिर्फ कथा ही करना है. तो मतलब जब कथा करना बोलते हैं तो उनको मुझे कथा करना मतलब क्या है, तो बोलते हैं कि स्टोरीज बता के आना है. तो according to your experience and understanding, what is the actual way that one devotee, genuine sincere devotee, should preach?
Well, ये तो सिंपल है, preach truth. That's all. एक लाइन में सारे prophets, सारे saints ने truth preach किया, और truth के लिए वो खड़े हुए हैं, और truth के लिए उन्होंने fight भी की. So all these stories and entertainment, nobody has done that. I mean to say, if they want to tell stories, तो फिर मतलब उसमें तो saint बनने की जरूरत ही नहीं है ना. Why do you want to become a saint? You become a storyteller. That's all. Bhagavatam, what Bhagavatam begins? Satyam param dhimahi. Stand for truth. Stand by the truth. Stand with truth. Satyam param dhimahi. That's what Bhagavatam says. Or Srila Prabhupada ne wahi kiya, Bhakti-Siddhanta Thakur ne wahi kiya. All acharyas have been doing that. In there, you take any book of any acharya, there is no story, isn't it? If that was a norm, तो फिर तो book में भी लिख देते. Book में है ही नहीं कोई story. Book में there's philosophy and direct instructions. Do this, don't do this, don't do this, do this. So अगर कोई कर भी नहीं रहा ऐसा history में, nobody is doing that, and no book is written in that fashion, or people are writing straightforward, तो फिर हम क्यों नई चीज बना रहे हैं? That's the whole point there. So that kind of strategy, it's even a failure. उससे कुछ होगा नहीं, क्योंकि क्या है कि Prabhupada's god brothers, they were actually doing this. Gaudiya Math. I mean, not all. They were also good devotees in Gaudiya Math. But then there were factions. They were doing all these kathas and all this style that came, but all of them failed. Prabhupada succeeded. And one of the god brother, he was actually preaching in Japan, and he used to criticize Prabhupada. What he's doing, that's not good preaching. He should speak kathas and all these things. But when Prabhupada became success, then he was actually lamenting. He made a statement. Actually, I was wrong, So he failed. Prabhupada succeeded. So stories can't change people. Truth changes people, isn't it? That's why Christ said, I am truth, isn't it? Christ didn't say, I am story. I am story. I am truth. That's all, it's clear. Don't listen to these people. These people are crap. That's all. It's own mental speculation.
Sometimes I feel like if they hear the truth, half the people will leave from ISKCON.
That's good, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. We can't, we are servants of truth. We are not servants of people. And by the way, I mean to say, see, there were so many revolutions in this world, and everybody spoke truth. Prophet Muhammad, Christ, and they were like, these movements are there for thousands of years. How is it? So we think people will leave, but then how can they manage to make a movement which is worldwide, a world religion? This is a proof. They are showing this is a proof. I mean to say, even Prophet Muhammad. Hare Krishna. Who is this? So Prophet Muhammad, he also said, in, so in one of his hadith, he said that okay, speak truth, and if somebody doesn't accept truth, then don't shy off in actually rejecting him from your community. That much he has said, and so it's a very strong statement. And people who used to hear Prophet Muhammad when he was there, people used to leave him. Frankly, it's if you read hadith, many times people used to come. Prophet Muhammad used to say, "Well, you're going to hell." Okay, bye. If you do this, you're going to hell. If you're doing sins, so he said, I have to repeat Allah's message, and he was successful. And that's the point here. That's how we should be.
So one should have full faith in the instructions of the Acharya and the Guru Parampara, and should not think on this gimmicks will help to actually really preach. So one has full faith in instruction, following the instructions, then automatically whatever is best to happen will happen.
See, I'll tell you one thing. It is the question of, if we follow the message, we will preach message. People who are preaching stories, they are not following it. That's all. Finish. If you follow, you are convinced, you are satisfied, you are happy, you will automatically speak. This is the way. This is the way. I have practiced and it helped me. You please practice. Isn't it simple? But people, all these who are entertaining, the speaking stories, they're not following. 100% they're not following. They don't realize what's the power of this message. That's why they're not speaking. It's as simple as.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Agreed with that. Yes.
Okay.
We will stop.
It's, I think, too late for you now. We can
Yeah.
continue in the next session.
Yeah, that will be a good idea.
So maybe probably we can keep this maybe twice a month or something. Is it okay for you? Like,
Yeah. That's fine enough. Just inform me, and Pranav can do that. Then we can put his duty on.
Yeah, and we can kind of go Bhagavad Gita themes, because I think we really need to understand Bhagavad Gita deeper and deeper.
Yeah, definitely.
It's bhakti nahi hai.
वो तो है.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you
you
very
very
much.
much.
Jai Vancha Kalpataru. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
And
Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna,
Prabhuji. Dandavat
Hare
pranam.
Prabhuji too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat pranam. Thank you. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat pranam. Thank you.